You're listening to Articulate with your hosts, Kevin Kramer and Shawn Gillespie, your go-to guys for art tips, techniques, and general artist ramblings. Presented by drawingandcoloring.com.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Articulate. I am Kevin Kramer, and as always, with me is my co-host,
Shawn Gillespie.
Welcome. Welcome. And today we are going to be tackling freelance versus industry.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
I guess the first thing we need to do is figure out, because it kind of goes into a big ball of mess if you try to lump those two into two categories. So let's give, what are we defining as freelance and what is industry?
All right, so when we say freelance, and just for this podcast, we're going to lump independent contractors with freelancers. So when we say freelance here, what we just mean is anybody working for themselves. You can work as a contractor for individual companies, but ultimately, you pay your own taxes. If you get health insurance, you're doing it yourself. You're not working for a company.
Right.
But when we talk about industry artists in this podcast, we're talking about people who work for a company and everything that goes with that.
Right. Like the people that work on the movie sets and all of these types of things.
Exactly. Movie sets, graphic designers, all those guys who work for particular companies would be what we're calling industry artists in this podcast. And then freelancers are guys on their own, guys and gals on their own, making it happen, living the day-to-day, working the grind, and living on the streets.
Yeah, pushing through.
Jump into it, Kevin. It's going to break it down into just pros and cons, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that would be the best. I mean, that's really all you can break it down into.
That's the way I roll. I love me some pros and cons.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's start with the pros of being a freelance artist. Well, what do you have for your first pro?
Well, at first, I actually have a little bit of some knowledge I'm going to drop on you.
Oh, a knowledge bomb. I love knowledge bombs. Hit me.
It's 63% of artists are freelance artists.
63? That's surprising.
That's what I found. That's a pretty big number there. Mm-hmm. So that might be why there's a lot of starving artists out there. Just gonna put that one out there.
That's surprising. I would think that a majority of artists were like graphic designers, comic book artists, video game artists, animators. Yeah. I would think that they would have way more than the rest. I'd be interested to get the source material on that. We're gonna have to leave that link I
will definitely put that in the links below. I thought that was just a pretty interesting number to throw out there in the beginning.
Very interesting.
Because it does encompass a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of folks.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people out there making that happen. It might be why I have so much trouble getting a gig. It's all so clear now.
See how that just blows the mind? Exploded.
Yeah, it did. You just hit me with a knowledge bullet, and it went straight through my brain cavity. All right. Now, are we ready for pros and cons?
Yes, let's get to it.
All right. What's your first pro for being a freelance artist?
Well, I think the major one is you can create your own work.
Freedom!
Yes.
That's a big one.
Anything you want to do.
Pro.
Huh?
That's absolutely the biggest pro, I think, of being a freelance artist. Definitely. That you create your own work, you do what you want, the freedom to create. And the problem is that one is such a big and just an important pro that it outweighs so many of the cons as we talk. So we're going to have to really kind of keep going back to that one as a pro.
I would definitely have to agree with that point.
So the counterpoint to that would be, as a freelance artist, you're making your own work. You can do whatever you want. You have the freedom to do that. But as an industry artist, you have to make what the company wants you to make.
Other people's ideas.
So that's the flip side of that coin.
Yeah, it kind of turns you into a technician instead of an idea and creator.
And now, as a freelance artist, though, too, a lot of times you're going to be taking contracts and stuff. And so for that contract, like, I just painted, you saw on Facebook that I posted on our Facebook page that everybody should sign up for and like.
Exactly, definitely.
But I just painted a a Hollywood sign and some palm trees. And this is in a girl's room who's big into California and big into Hollywood. This is not really my thing, but she wanted it. So even as a freelance artist, a lot of times you end up not necessarily having the freedom to create what you want, but you still get to, I guess, create it in a way you want.
Right. And that's what I wanted to touch on. You get to create it in your own style.
Absolutely.
And not having to, for lack of example, draw Mickey Mouse exactly the same way as everyone draws Mickey Mouse, because you're in that line of people that are drawing Mickey Mouse.
Right. And this kind of touches on another point that you're kind of we talked about this a little bit in our podcast about digital art, but that brings up a point like your own style. Like if I prefer to work in oil paints and pencil, but if I'm working in an industry art, one of the cons would be that I may have to do it digitally as opposed to,
I think the concept art for that is a very slow dying breed as far as like visual. I can't think of the word right now, but
which I think what you're trying to say is pretty much if you want to work in the industry as an industry artist, it's all going to be digital now.
Yes. Thank you.
So right. So pretty much. So you lose the freedom to pick your medium, because your medium is going to be digital. But if you are a digital artist, then hey man, you're in hog heaven.
Then you're already geared that way. Yeah, and that's another point that a lot of a lot of freelance stuff is, if you're a fine artist and you're doing freelance, you were probably already on a trajectory to that way. Yeah. Which is that's why you're in that way already. Otherwise, you were put into that digital realm of graphic designer, which kind of leads you into that industry path. And
the medium very much determines or predicts whether or not you're going to have more likelihood to go into freelance, or whether you're going to have nowadays. And I don't think that was always the case, but that's definitely turned into the case in recent years for sure. Yeah. I mean, past 20 years is what I mean.
Yeah, that's very, very short.
Very recently. So another pro I have for freelance is individual recognition for you.
Definitely.
People out there guilty of a little bit of hubris or conceit. It's definitely nice to get individually recognized, and to be the artist and be known as the artist. Whereas if you're working for a company and you create an ad or something, usually your name is not even going to be on it or known to anybody. It's going to be a select few people who are in the industry who might know who created it, and you might eventually build a reputation for for which is awesome.
You don't get a lot of credits at the end.
Yeah, it's not like I am Picasso. You know, like
at the end of a commercial, you don't see credits rolling of everyone that worked on it.
No, absolutely not. And then ads and magazines and things like that. Maybe an amazing Art Deco themed ad that somebody spent a lot of time recreating and making on a computer, and their name is nowhere on it. It says the company name.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Is it's still an art realm, but it's Eames. All the Eames furniture. If you don't know anything about that, Eames, all of their designers are all kind of awesome, different designers, but they're all created under that Eames furniture theme. So if you think, oh, that's Eames, he created it, or something like that, then you're completely wrong, because there's hundreds of designers that were working and that built that name.
Right, absolutely.
So you have to kind of, that's definitely a,
keep
that in mind.
Decide how much getting your name out there is important to you. Like, are you the type of person who, I don't need recognition, I just love the work itself and that's the reward? Then, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not that way.
No. I think a lot of people would like to get some recognition for what they do.
I like to get a little bit, but then you also get recognition on a company level. I think that's fair to say,
Right.
So you do get individual from your boss and people like that. I mean, you would get recognized. It just, you wouldn't necessarily become famous.
So you kind of get recognized in other ways, like pay.
Increase, which is another good pro, could be con. that one goes either way.
It does, definitely.
So as a freelance artist, you don't have a guaranteed steady paycheck. So you have a potential for really high pay.
Yeah. You can make millions.
You can make millions. Yeah, you're not
You
gonna
just
get
go
billions.
off into space with that amount of money you can make. There's no glass ceiling.
Yeah, and you don't have to climb the corporate ladder. You don't have to deal with any of that. You don't have to suck up to the boss. You're just a millionaire because you painted an amazing painting.
Exactly. I painted one painting, and then I milk that painting.
Yeah, you just painted one painting and it made you a millionaire. And but more likely, and definitely a con of freelance is that without that, you don't have that steady income, and you're gonna be
gotta do a little more guerrilla marketing techniques.
First. Yes,
gotta hit the streets.
Yeah, you gotta hustle.
Hustle.
Brings us, I think,
to
another pro and con. Are we there? Are we doing another one?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is that, well, actually, maybe we should save that one because that one's kind of a con for freelance. Because we're doing pros for freelance right now. So we'll save that. We'll put a pin in that.
Put a pin. It's pinned.
Right. So what's your next pro for freelance? Do you have another one?
Let's see. We got... Yeah, I think that's kind of...
I've got one more. If you don't have any more, I know.
Go ahead.
All right. So one that I think is big and pretty important to both you and me is owning your own work.
Yeah.
So as a freelance artist, anything you create, you own. Nobody else owns it. You own the copyright. You can do with it what you want. But as an industry artist, anything you own, anything you create, they own. Your company owns.
Right.
Now, some companies will work with you on this and give you some royalties and things like that. That's pretty much unheard of these days, though. Most companies will make you sign an agreement. It's a creative rights agreement that says that anything you create while employed there or
basically like a non-compete.
Yeah, they own. Now, Kevin and I have worked for a company that said anything you create while under our employ,
under our umbrella.
Right, under our umbrella, during the years that you are employed here, we own. Now, I don't know if that goes towards like kids. Like if I had a kid while I was employed there, does that mean they own?
Firstborn.
I don't know where the line is.
You gotta sign your firstborn.
Yeah, you lawyers out there, email us and explain that because I want to know. Do they own my children? But most companies are a little more reasonable, and they say anything you create during company hours and using company equipment, we own, which I feel like is fair.
That makes sense. You're using their resources.
Yeah, because because you couldn't create what you did had it not been for their time.
You had the facilities to.
And
they facilitated the facilities.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes sense. So that's our pros for freelance.
Those are pretty solid, I'd say.
Yeah, I think those are good. So, but what are some of the pros of the industry, Kevin?
Well, like we kind of touched on, some of the pros are you do have a steady paycheck.
That's a big one.
That is a key.
I dig a steady paycheck.
That is something you can plan on right there. So that's my biggest one, I'd say.
But potentially less money than freelance if you happen to be an amazing freelancer.
That's true. I have one statistic was that was from the Bureau of, it was from the Bureau of, I forget where it was. Let me see.
A bureau.
The Bureau.
You don't know about it. It's the Bureau.
If you don't know about it, it is the Bureau, and I'm about to drop it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, their average for a graphic designer was around $34,000 a year.
34,000?
Yeah. So
That's too bad.
If you're not making that much on your side jobs with your freelance,
right?
That's pretty attractive to go towards. So kind of have to weigh the options on that. Do you want to be able to count on a paycheck, or do you want to have to hustle and work your way to every dollar you make?
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of hustling, a lot of like going out there, getting your name out there, going to businesses, dropping your card, trying to wheel and deal, and you end up spending more time doing that than you would have been making art. And so maybe if that's the case, then maybe you'd come out ahead working in an industry, and then in your free time working on art.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, it's kind of a side note, but it sort of relates to this, is that I found out that until you make more than $3,000, the government considers your business to be a hobby. So, you know, if you're painting on the side, painting murals, painting, you know, whatever
any
you're
kind of
doing,
side business.
then you're good until you make 3,000. After that, you need to be licensed as a business and paying taxes on your income. So that's something to consider too. How much are you making versus, you know, am I a business at all, or is this a hobby? You know,
and I think that's a major one too. Is it's almost a shift in, do you want to work for a business or do you want to create a business?
Right. That's a big one. That's a whole other podcast there.
Yeah, there's a whole nother. I think we touched on that. We touched on that in a later one, but that we could really just dive into the deep end on that.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
But one of the things related to this pro of steady income is definitely the pro of health benefits and a retirement plan.
Yes.
Versus being freelance, you ain't got anything.
Yeah, you get hurt, if you get hurt, you're not only out of money.
Yeah, you're out of work, everything.
And then you have bills.
Yeah, bills.
So that's a huge pro for the industry on that one.
Now, supposedly, in 2014, this super amazing affordable health insurance from Obamacare is going to kick in in 2014.
Yeah.
And artists will be able to afford health insurance at that point. Supposedly, I haven't researched it as much as I should have, but yeah. So look out for that one. So you may want to work for your company until 2014, and then look at your other options. That may be something you want. I don't know.
I don't know. Most insurances I've found are like $30 a month. Or
you're finding some cheap insurance, son.
That's
the ones I found are like $300 a month. But I try to look for like low deductible. I want my doctor to take all good care of me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I've also that's bare bones. But if you want a good one, it's at least $100 or more.
At least, yeah. Insurance, man, you gotta have it nowadays, people. It's important.
Okay, so what's another pro of working in industry?
Another pro of industry for me is that the company is already established. They already have a reputation. They are out there. Business is coming to them already.
Yeah.
You're not having to go out and hustle all the time and sell people vacuum cleaners and all that. You know, the work is coming to you. And you don't have to build your own reputation like you would as a freelance or individual artist.
Right. It already gives you that platform to put your name out there. It's already like, I work for, Disney, or I work for Industrial Light and Magic, or one of those big companies, LucasArts. And you're already associating yourself, you're making yourself credible. You're already associating yourself with a creditable big firm, a big company that, he works for this, he must have skills.
Right, exactly.
So,
he's got mad skills, y'all.
And I'm sure you have to work for them, but still.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
It does take you up another level as, I'm a graphic designer. Oh, well, I'm a graphic designer and I work at Lucasfilms. Oh, well, shit. Now you must be really good.
Yeah. And this podcast just became explicit, y'all. So another pro for working for a company is that, and it's similar to that, and that's that you're protected by the company. So as a freelance artist, and I mainly do murals for those who don't know.
Are you talking about legally?
Well, legally, definitely. That's a big one, but I wasn't talking about legally. I was talking about just by your own naivety, because I tend to be pretty trusting of pretty much anybody, and there have been many times that I've seen an ad on Craigslist or tried to contact an ad posted somewhere, and I've gotten the email back, well, why don't you go ahead and sketch it out and send us a sketch of what we want, and then if we like it, we'll hire you for the project.
That's a red flag. Red flag.
Red flag. So basically what they're saying is, we want this drawing, go ahead and do the job, and then if we like it, we'll pay you. And then, but once you send it to them, they've already got it because you're sending it to them via email. So my little pro tip, like to give our pro tips.
Oh yeah, we got a pro tip.
We're gonna get a pro tip. Is don't do that.
Oh, nice.
You do. If you feel like you got a good feeling about it and you feel like it's legit and they just want a quick sketch of it, what you should do is refer them to your previous work, and if they want to hire you, they can. Yeah. But if you decide not to do that, because we've all got this voice in our heads that's like, no, it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the sketch for them and send it to them because that is not a problem.
Right.
If you do, then put a watermark on top of it.
Yeah, you gotta. And I would even plus that with, if you're gonna respond to anything that's like that in general, you can pretty much tell if it's if they're coming on strong. Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, if they're asking you to do something to do work free without even giving you a guarantee of the job or pay, then they're probably pretty shady already. But if you think you trust them and you feel good about them, definitely send the watermark anyway. It's not insulting. It's just covering your ass. Explain to them, hey, this, I'm just doing this. I'm gonna send. If you do want to hire me, I'll send it to you without the watermark. But this is what I have right now. And a lot of times that'll make them mad and they'll drop off and you won't hear from them. But they weren't legitimate anyway.
Yeah, pre-qualify basically.
Yeah,
I've even had when I was getting something for written, it's kind of on the side, but it's kind of in that general topic, is to give them an example of something else, or give them an example of something you've already sketched out in that kind of area, and then get an approval before you go into anything.
Yeah, that's how you should do it every time. But we all get caught up in things, and we're like, how did I get here? You may ask yourself.
Exactly.
Where's my beautiful wife and my beautiful car? But so that's definitely. But as working for a company, you're protected from all those shenanigans. The company's like, no, he's not going to sit here and work on that. You give us money, and then we'll get him to work.
Right.
And
we have a consultation fee, everything.
Yeah, and the company you work for probably, if you're like me, they probably have a little bit more of a spine than you do, at least than I have, because so many times I wish I had a manager or somebody to have my back and be like, no, the shadow doesn't do that.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have someone detached from your work that just says, no, we're not doing anything. This is how it's going to work. This, and this.
Because when you're when you're freelance and you're broke and you need the money, and all of a sudden everything looks like it's like, I just need to do this. I can't lose this gig. I'll do whatever it takes.
Exactly. That's starving kid trying to get some bread.
Desperation. Yeah, that's when it gets ugly.
Yeah.
So, what's another pro that we've got? We got any more pros for industry?
Another pro of industry. Let's see. What did we cover already? We got
steady income, health benefits, retirement. We've got protected by the company using their reputation. I mean, so far it's looking pretty good for the company.
Those are pretty good. And there's one pro which is kind of on the fence whether you're you have to work on projects, so you're forced to work through things.
Yeah.
That push forward, whether you like it or not. So that kind of gives you more of a work ethic to some degree, too.
That can be a pro or a con, and that's definitely something that you have to figure out early on in yourself, whether you like art enough to do it full time, and whether you can sit there and do it every day, or whether you're the type of person who's going to start to hate it if you have to do that. Because a lot of people, they love making art, but they don't want to do it every day, day in, day out, 8 hours a day, and that's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
But you may be a hobby artist, and that's
not really a business or anything in that sense. So.
And you don't have to be. Yeah.
You can be a hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. If you just like to paint, you like to draw.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nothing wrong with that.
For sure.
Nothing wrong with that at all. It's just not the topic of this particular podcast.
Exactly.
So, if we're done with our pros and cons, I've got a recommendation.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So, we've got some great arguments for both. So far, we've laid out, you've got steady income, health insurance, already established reputation by working for a company. But working freelance, you've got freedom, you've got the ability to work on your own when you want. You know, so many pros there.
There's a big one.
That are going to be nice. Yeah, you've got, you know, you get to choose your own clients. You don't have to work with those people you hate, but
you could probably move around a lot easier.
Yeah, move around. Yeah, need to vacation when you want, you know, if you can afford it.
Yeah, if you can afford it, if you're making more than $34,000 a year.
Right, then you're good. So there's a lot of pros and cons to each. So my recommendation and what I've been trying to do on my own is have one foot in both doors.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to say to some degree.
Yeah, so I work part-time for a very large corporation, which will remain anonymous. And they offer, if you work part-time, they offer health benefits. Right. So get the health benefits, but then also get to do the freelance thing. And so I've created a list here of just some 10 companies that offer health benefits, full benefits to part-time employees.
Oh, cool.
That's REI, Whole Foods, Nordstrom's, Starbucks, UPS, Lowe's, JCPenney, Land's End, JP Morgan, and Barnes & Noble.
All of those are in Austin.
Yeah, all those are in Austin, but they're also at other places too. And you may be thinking yourself, as most artists and most people in the world, well, I don't want to work for them. That's the white devil.
Yeah,
you know,
corporate.
Man, I don't want to work for the man.
No, nobody wants to work for the man.
Yeah, nobody does. But the man has health benefits.
The man does have benefits, yes.
Benefits is because they are the man.
Exactly. They are the man.
Yeah, and the doctors, they're the man too.
Everybody's the man.
Yeah.
You're the man, I'm the man.
You're the man, I'm the man as well. So you got to pick your benefits, and you got to find out what you can live with. And for me, I feel like I need health insurance, so I'm selling a piece of my soul to work for the man, so that 5 days a week I can work for yours truly.
Yeah.
And you know, which as a result usually means I'm working for clients that, you know, are aggravating and you know.
And that goes with the whole side of the other business that you have to make yourself. So
yeah, I'm just not good at that part. Yeah.
There's actually a good book. I know we mentioned the Artist's Guide before, which is a really good book to anyone trying to go on the freelance type of track. But there's also another good book that I like. It's How to Survive and Prosper as an Artist.
Awesome. Yeah, you might have to loan me that one.
Yeah, it's Selling Yourself Without Selling Your Soul.
Who's that by?
It's Carol Mitchell's.
Carol Mitchell's. All right, cool.
Yeah, and if it's actually on the website, if you go to the recommended readings too, it's a really good book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of website, how can people reach us, Kevin? If you have any questions, comments, you have some more pros and cons about this podcast?
Yeah, you can reach us at info@articulatepodcast.com, or if you want to send suggestions, you just go ahead and put suggestions@articulatepodcast.com, and we'll get to you as quickly as we can, as soon as these come out every Wednesday. So, yeah, if you have any other questions or anything, just shoot them our way. We'd be happy to field them and spit them back to you.
Right. Happy to. Yeah, we look forward to your feedback. And if you have anything you want a podcast about, shoot us an email about that too, and we'll try to accommodate you. Right now, our old inbox is pretty empty, so we'll take what we can get from anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's full. It's full. We
Completely.
got a long list. We might fit you in.
There's so much coming in right now.
Right.
It's hard to pick topics.
Hard to pick, so hard to pick. Well, we have many of our own. So
we do, and we have a lot lined up coming, and hopefully some really good interviews lined up along the way too in the future. So you want to definitely make sure you're subscribed and keep listening, because we have a lot more coming.
All right. Well, I think that does it for today.
Yeah, I think that is a wrap on whether you should work for yourself or work for a company.
Yeah, so make up your own mind is basically what we're saying.
Basically.
But there are the pros and cons, so you can make an educated decision.
Yeah, good deal. All right.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Articulate with Kevin and Shawn. Subscribe on iTunes or check them out on drawingandcoloring.com. Always reminding you to keep it simple.